Welcome and thank you for being here with us this afternoon. We're excited to have Cosmos here. Most of you will know that Cosmos is the first and only cloud reporting and analytics for Business Central. And I'd like to welcome Rob Jackson from Cosmos. And Rob is going to spend the next 30 minutes with us discussing and showcasing the modern cloud-based architecture of Cosmos, and of course its lightning speed recording. There'll be an opportunity for a Q&A session at the end. So if any questions arise during Rob's demonstration, then please feel free to pop those questions in the chat, and then we'll address them at the end. So with no further ado, Rob, I hand over to you.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Thanks for the introduction. So just to summarise what we'll be running through today, I'm just going to start with just a few slides just to explain really what Cosmos is, but then we'll jump into the product and do a solution overview in the time that we have. And definitely, yeah, we will leave 5 minutes at the end, so really encourage people to put any questions that you have inside the chat. So Cosmos, as Rachel said, is a reporting and analytics solution that has been built specifically for Business Central in the cloud. One of the challenges that you have when you move any ERP system to the cloud is that, of course, your data is stored effectively offsite on a service, and actually when you're reporting, some traditional reporting solutions work on the basis that all of the processing is being done on your local machine, maybe on a local laptop. And that can be quite time consuming when you're pulling all of that data across to your local machine. So our approach is now very different. So Cosmos is quite a new architecture in terms of how it's been built, but it basically means that Cosmos is running all of its reports on the same Azure data center that your Business Central sits on. So it's kind of right next door to that, and we just see the results of the reports that we can open up in Excel Online or Excel Desktop, which we can show you. But in the end, it just means that we can use the power of that data center rather than somebody's local laptop, and that means that we can process reports much faster, on average 48 times faster than traditional Excel solutions. So I'll run through the product components. First off is the Cosmos portal. This is really where users come in to use the system, but it covers operations from whether you're building reports, editing reports, managing users, making any changes to the data model, that type of thing. Yeah, basically everything that users will need to do, whether you're administrators, light or full users, you would basically come into the Cosmos portal, and this is delivered via a web browser, very much like Business Central, and everything, because it's browser based, means that the whole solution is cross-platform as well. So whether you're using a Windows laptop or maybe an Apple Mac, it doesn't really matter, because you're accessing the whole application through a browser, and that also means that we are hosting the whole service for you. So there's no infrastructure required in terms of servers, and updates and new features and that type of thing get pushed out automatically also through the platform. So very light from an IT administration and management perspective. Just what I'm showing you now is just to speak a bit about the Cosmos report editor. So one of the ideas behind Cosmos is that you're able to design reports exactly in the way that you want. So business users can access this really easily. And we've got a data model, which is your Business Central data, but it is structured in a way that is much easier for business users to interpret and understand. Sometimes the complex data structure of Business Central can be quite confusing if you're looking directly at that. So when you're building reports with Cosmos, you're working against a data model that's already got a lot of the relationships between the tables built for you, so it makes the whole process much easier, and there's a lot of kind of smart features and integration when we actually build the reports out. Power BI is a really big topic. Lots of organizations want to see their data displayed in a Power BI dashboard, something that is interactive, but what we find is that a lot of customers struggle with that. Power BI really is a game of two halves, because one half of the entire process is getting the data ready, so it's suitable for consumption within Power BI. The second part is actually putting together the visualizations, and we've made that process easier because you can consume the Cosmos data model directly with Power BI, and then really this just allows business users to do, if you like, the fun stuff, actually building out the visualizations. So that's enough of PowerPoint. I think a few minutes on that is more than adequate. So I'm just going to switch screens here and we'll take a look at the actual solution itself. So I'm in a fresh web browser session here. And when we do the onboarding for Cosmos for customers, incidentally, our onboarding process is only 30 minutes. So from start to finish, we link everything up to your Azure tenant. That allows me to log in with my normal Microsoft account. So it's the same account effectively that you would be using for Business Central. And because of that, IT administration is really, really easy. So if I wanted to add a user into the system, I'm just going to pick somebody here. This is a fictitious lady called Alice, but it just means that I can drop her straight into the system. She's up and running, ready to use the system. She could log in. It really is as simple as that. So when we're adding users, we're looking up into your directory of users within your normal Entra Active Directory, and then we can just easily add them into the system. We have two main user types, full users at the top. These users can do anything within Cosmos, including being an administrator. The main difference really is that the fact that full users are able to design Cosmos reports, and light users can run reports on demand that have already been written. So report templates get shared out to light users, and then service users would be for City Dynamics to be able to support you if you have any support queries, such that they can access your environment with, of course, your permission to help support you. Okay, so with a new user setup, we'll just take a look in a second at how we can assign a report to that user. But I've just navigated here to the Excel report section of Cosmos, and this is as a full user, the view that I would see. So I have this workspace at the top, and these are 3 reports that are in the process of either being written or edited at the moment. And then once reports are ready, I would use the check-in button, and then they would appear beneath in the reporting section below there. When customers get started, often it's a good idea to take a look at the report gallery. So we provide over 30 reports that just run out of the box. You can use those as they are, or you can edit those and make changes to them, or it could just give you an idea about how reports basically are structured with Cosmos. What I'm going to do here is just pick a report that we can use, one of the templated reports, import that, and then we can just run that and see how it looks when we actually run. But that's imported. It drops straight into the reports area. And if I just search for that report, then I would see I've actually got 2 of the same one. I think the second one is the one that I've just imported. So if I just come to security, the first thing to note is that once a report definition is booked into the system, I'm able to share that out with another user. So the user that I just added at the beginning, Alice, if I want to make her a somebody that uses that report, then I can share the report definition with her. And then when she logs into the system, she would just see the reports that that she would have access to. So this process of running the report will be the same for myself or Alice in principle. So to begin with, when I press run on the report, I basically see a request box, and this specific report has only been designed with a date filter where I can specify a starting and an ending date, and then I've got the choice here to drill down on the transactions after the report has run. So the drill down is something that is available to both full and light users, and you do that with the Excel add-in. If I just open up the activities of the report that's running, actually the report's pretty much already done, and then I can just open up the result. So this launches Excel Online for me, or alternatively I could click the box to open up the report in Excel Desktop. This report is laid out in the following way. It basically builds dynamic sections of the report. In this case, it is for account categories, so they get listed down the page in blocks. And then inside of that, there is another function that lists out all of the general ledger accounts that belong to this account category. And then the same is happening in the opposite direction. We're building out columns, one for every dimension code that I have transactions for. So when you're posting transactions in Business Central, you can tag transactions with the dimension codes. But one thing really I think important to note is that it doesn't really matter what the data is to Cosmos. So the information on the left could be a list of general ledger accounts, it could be customers, items, and the columns could be companies, dimensions, months, item categories. You know, it's really flexible in terms of the content that you can build out. On the right hand side, I've now opened up the Excel add-in, and this will give me some context about the actual report and where I'm selected. So if I just open up the section of the report here, we're basically summing up some transactions based on some data. That's coming from the general ledger transactions table. The field that we're summing up is the amount field. So there's a whole bunch of transactions kind of behind this. We're applying a reverse sign transaction because this is a financial report such that the revenue is displayed as a positive number. And then the filters will give me some context about the cell that I'm in. So this is for the account number 44200 for the column of electronics. And then further down, this shows me the date range for the aggregate that I'm selected on. In order to see all of the detailed transactions behind that, so I can use the drill down feature. This just prompts a process for Cosmos to write a new sheet for me in Excel Online that contains every single field within the underlying table, and that would allow me to do any other ad hoc analysis. So this just opens up in a separate tab, so I can switch between the two. One thing important to note here is that the data that is coming into this report is actually being fed by multiple companies. So the Cosmos data model is multi-company compliant. Something to note about Business Central reporting is that if you log into a Business Central environment, you log into one specific company, and pretty much all of the reports inside Business Central, you can only run for one company at a time, depending on what company you're accessing. Whereas with Cosmos, if you have multiple companies, we can pull data out so that the data model is multi-company compliant. And then we've got some flexibility about how we use that information. In this situation, I'm actually pulling data from multiple companies into one aggregate. But equally, if I wanted to split out my companies by worksheet or by column, that type of thing, or indeed just run a report and filter by one specific company, then I can do that. So it's very flexible in terms of how you can actually build out the reports. Scheduling and distribution is all handled as well on the Cosmos portal. So once you've designed a report, you're happy with it, you've shared it to other users so they can run the report on demand, but it might be a requirement that you set up a schedule to run either a weekly or monthly report. So you could just run a report on a certain time of day on certain days of the month in this instance. And then you would just set an email address for the report to be distributed to. This can be any valid email address, so you don't even need to be a Cosmos licensed user in order to receive the report. And equally so, you don't even need to be a Business Central user to be a Cosmos user either. So when somebody gets an email with an attachment, it's just a regular Excel attachment. If you are a light user, then you could still go ahead and use the drill down capabilities, that type of thing. The other feature we have is the ability to be able to archive reports long term. So it's often the case that financial departments may well run their end of month accounts, and then they've got a need to archive off so they can permanently keep a snapshot of the report. So this process is transferring the report that we just ran into a SharePoint repository, and anybody that the report definition is shared with gets access to that report run. What I'll do now is just show you very quickly the tools as to how we design reports. So this report here, has got a similar structure to the first one that we looked at, but this is the template of the report. And if I wish, what I could just do here is come to the authoring tab and then just take a preview of what the output would look like. So if I just run the preview, that will just run there in the background. And then in the meantime, if I just drag this across, within the Cosmos add-in, these are the tools that we have to build out the actual report content. It's quite a compact set of data. This report is not coming out with too much information for some reason, so that's not quite worked as I expected. But let me just show you the tools that I use. There's probably a date filter or something like that against the report data set that I'm running at the moment. But if I just jump into range lists, what I can do here is just press select, and this will jump to the area of the report that is going to be repeated down the page for every account category in this case. And then likewise for here, if I press select, this will list down the general ledger accounts that belong to that category. And then in the opposite direction, in this case, the columns will be built out by company. So I just realized actually I may have made some adjustments to that report. So I'll just run this one from the portal, and then we'll just take a look at the output. And at the same time, I'm just going to run a couple of other report examples just so we can look at the output of them as well. So we'll just run a few different selections. When we're designing reports as well, we have access to an AI helper. So a really nice value add with Cosmos is that we have some online content, which is all of our training videos, all of our walkthrough articles, that type of thing. So if you want to ask a question, for instance, how do I add filters? You can ask questions in natural language, and this is all linked up to our online training and knowledge base. And then this will allow me to basically link to an article that's relevant to the question that I asked. So in this situation, we've got a small bite-sized video that you can watch about adding Excel filters to a report, and then there'll just be a walkthrough of the process. So that's something really nice about Cosmos, is that we've got all of this learning content online that's free of charge for customers, and you can get up and running quickly. The idea is that we're putting everything into the hands of the business users in order to use the system and get the results that they need out of their reporting. So let's take a look at this. If I just try again to open this, I must have made some kind of an adjustment to the report. So this is looking better. So this is the output from the template that we were just looking at here. So the columns and the sections of the report have expanded. And in this case, I'm splitting out the company information by column. If we just give you another couple of report examples that I've run as well. This income statement forecast, we often get the question, well, can I bring my budget information in? Absolutely. And this is a report that actually plays out, if you like, the first part of the year according to my actual general ledger transactions, and then the second half of the year for the remaining budget. So it gives me a forecast amount predicted for the completed year. Equally so, you could lay out columns such that this one is an actual, this one's a budget, this one's a variance, and that all is for 1 month in the block, and then so on for the other months after that. And so far, all of the reports that I've shown you are in maybe one sheet, but this report here kind of mocks up like an end of month report pack, where you might have different versions of a income statement for the month, for the year to date. This one is showing the year to date with all of my months individually split out. Then I've got the same information, this time with the columns splitting out one of my dimension codes. And then we've got an operational report in the same report pack that basically shows all of the item categories and the salespeople, again, just in a matrix format, just to show me what each salesperson has sold of a particular item category in the period that the report is for. So just like you to imagine that you've got your whole kind of reporting pack set out in this way, very, very quick and easy to run, that really speeds up the end of month process. So how are we kind of doing all of this? We are connecting to Business Central. This data management section is maybe a little bit more technical, but in essence, what we're doing is connecting to your Business Central environment. We are choosing the companies that we want to pull data from. we are going through a process of transformations where we are making the data easier to use. Let's get rid of some changes that I've just made here. Okay, so in here I can just see, for instance, on the sales invoice line, we're doing some field calculations, that type of thing. So to bring everything into a single currency for all of my invoice sales, I'm just taking the amount, which could be, of course, in a different currency. We're dividing everything by a currency factor, and that just means that once I've got everything in my simpler table for sales transactions, for instance, then everything is presented in the same currency. And what you can see here is that this list of tables is what we present to the end users, but in the background, all these tables are being populated by all of the detailed tables that is in the raw data structure of Business Central. So in the end, what we're doing is taking quite a complex data structure, we're making it easier for business users to consume, and then you're able to build out report content yourselves, but not just within Excel. We mentioned Power BI. I'm just going to drag across here quickly a Power BI dashboard. And as mentioned, one of the challenges of Power BI is actually getting the data into the correct format such that you're ready to build visualizations. And here what we're doing is pointing Power BI directly at the Cosmos data model. So again, this is the same table that is being fed that I've just shown you based on all of those different raw Business Central tables. So we're doing a lot of work ahead of time to merge, for instance, invoices and credit memo data together, again, so it's much easier to use. From our website, you can download a number of different templates for different business areas. This is a sales dashboard template, and it arranges the data in a star schema. So you have the transactions in the center of the data model and links to all of the surrounding dimensions. So if you want to see sales by item or by location or by salesperson or date, that type of thing, then that's the type of analysis that we can do. But this is the type of dashboard that you may have as an output for that. And this is maybe not for monthly management account packs, but information that finance teams might want to make available to the organization. So you've got some freedom to be able to easily filter here by company or by salesperson or year or something like that, just such that you can see instant results as to what the trends are in your organization according to how you actually set out the dashboard. And once data is modeled in the correct way, it's very easy to build visualizations yourself. So I'll just give you a couple of examples here, and then we're coming up to the time where we'll just pause. So if you haven't asked any questions yet, I would encourage you to put something into the chat, and then just in a second, I'm just going to ask Rachel just to run through any questions that have come in. So please don't be shy. No question is kind of silly. It's always nice that we've got some input from the people watching the session. So I'll just finish this off. So I'm just doing a couple of different varieties, I guess, of some visuals where I'm showing what are my sales by item category in the top left, by the salesperson name in the top right, laying out a graph that splits out all of my quarters and shows me my revenue and my profit. I'll just do one more and then I'll ask Rachel to read out the questions. So here I can even put together, let's say, a map that shows me like a bubble size, so I can see where I'm shipping products to, where the sales are basically the strongest. And all of these visuals are easy to build. Like I say, once you've got the data in the right format, and all of these are kind of linked together. So if I wanted to see quickly what did this salesperson sell, how much of each item category, that type of thing, then it's very easy to do. So obviously this dashboard here, I've put a bit more effort into. And the nice thing with Cosmos, once you've published this up to the Power BI service, we can actually access that directly from the Cosmos portal. So I'll just come here. One last thing, just this lists out all of my dashboards from the Power BI service and all of my workspaces. So directly from the Cosmos portal, I can access exactly the same dashboards that I've built, but all within the same URL for Cosmos. Okay, so I'm going to finish there. I've tried to pack in as much as possible, and I'll just turn over to Rachel, please, for any questions.
Thanks so much for that, Rob. It's really, really interesting. I've got a couple of questions myself. Feel free, anybody else, to pop them in the Q&A section. Something I wanted to ask was about the historical data. So can you bring historical data into Cosmos? For instance, like a commission statement from Excel. Is that possible?
I mean, so we recently, I'm going to just jump back into the product if you're okay. And so we've recently launched within the data management section, the ability that if I add a new data source, so you have to be licensed for this, but you can add a data source that might be an Excel sheet that might contain some summary information, like GL information that might have come from your older ERP system. So it's often the case that people want to join information on to their current Business Central data so they can report on their history as well. You can use this for a multitude of different use cases. Here, for example, I'm just using an Excel spreadsheet to extend the salesperson table within Business Central with the name of a sales team, which is a field that I don't have available. So you can kind of blend data. Your example, Rachel, if you had like a more complex commission structure, Business Central only gives you a very basic structure around that. But what you might be able to do is have a commission spreadsheet linking together with your sales transactions, and then you've got a report that is using both bits of information to calculate what your commission payments for a month might be. So.
And then I have one more question. There's none there from anybody else, but if I'm okay to go, can you also report off budgets and actuals as well? I think you may have...
absolutely. Yeah. So the forecast sheet was one that I showed. So when you add a budget into Business Central, you can actually have multiple budgets for the same period of time. So you might have different versions of a budget. It might be that you're using the budget feature to provide the forecasting as well. So it's exactly the same. We have a budget transactions table, the same as the GL transactions table, and then you can put the two side by side as a comparison, or indeed what you could do is have a column for your actuals, and then you might have the different budget versions, and then you can use standard Excel formulas with that to give you a variance of amount and percentage, that type of thing. So
brilliant. Thanks for that, Rob. I do have one more question. Sorry, I've made a note as you've been going through. And my last question is, if you're using separate machines to run your reports for your organisation, which happens quite often, will Cosmos allow me then to go back to using Excel without locking me out, or how does that work?
Yeah, so so probably the best way to explain that one is that when Cosmos processes reports, it doesn't actually use Excel on your local machine. Okay, and I think probably what you're referring to there is that some customers with older reporting solutions have actually bought additional machines just to run the reports because they get fed up with Excel being locked up the whole time. But yeah, I can reassure you that when Cosmos runs, it doesn't take up any resources on your local machine. All the processing is done on the Azure platform, and then you're just opening up the result of the report. So it doesn't really touch your machine in terms of local resources.
Okay. I've just had a message from James. Apparently there's a bit of an issue with the Q&A. They're not able to pop the details into they can't write their questions. So James, if you want to drop me a Teams message, and then I can raise it with Rob, or of course we can pick it up at another time.
Yeah, that's fine. If people have not been able to ask questions, then if you email any questions to City, and we'll help answer those offline afterwards. But equally so, if you wanted a more detailed demonstration of Cosmos where we can show you how a report is being built from scratch, that type of thing, then we'd be more than happy to connect with anyone to help show you that. So
brilliant. Thank you so much, Rob, for taking time to go through that today, and thanks everybody for attending and giving us half an hour of your time. And as Rob said, any questions, please fire them over to myself or James, who's on the call. And we wish you a good day.
No problem. Thanks very much, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.